Well, why don't we begin with a prayer and a chant in our meditation, and then whoever joins in can just come into that. So let's pray together. Heavenly Father, Divine Mother, friend, beloved God, Jesus Christ, Babaji Krishna, Lahiri Mahashaya, Swami Shri Yukteswar, our beloved Guru Deva, Paramahansa Yoganandaji, saints of all religions, beloved Swamiji, we lovingly bow before you all. Divine Mother, great masters, we come to you on this very special day, the beginning of a new year, and ask that you guide us to make this year the most spiritually prosperous year of this lifetime for us. Guide us in all that we do. Remind us to keep our energy raised. Therefore, being ever more magnetic, drawing to ourselves all that is good, all that is light, all that is filled with your love. Guide us in every moment and bring us home to thee. Om, peace. Amen.
How shall I love thee, Lord my God, with every breath I breathe? How shall I love thee, Lord my God, with every breath I breathe? Just as a fire may burn a whole forest, burn to the root my desires. Just as a fire may burn a whole forest, burn to the root my desires. How shall I seek thee, Lord my God, with every breath I breathe? How shall I seek thee, Lord my God, with every breath I breathe? Just as a fire may burn a whole forest, burn to the root my desires. Just as a fire may burn a whole forest, burn to the root my desires. How shall I serve thee, Lord my God, with every breath I breathe? How shall I serve thee, Lord my God, with every breath I breathe? Just as a fire may burn a whole forest, burn to the root my desires. Just as a fire may burn a whole forest, burn to the root my desires. How shall I worship thee, Lord my God, with every breath I breathe? How shall I worship thee, Lord my God, with every breath I breathe? Just as a fire may burn a whole forest, burn to the root my desires. Just as a fire may burn a whole forest, burn to the root my desires. How shall I love thee, Lord my God, with every breath I breathe? How shall I seek thee, Lord my God, with every breath I breathe? How shall I serve thee, Lord my God, with every breath I breathe? How shall I worship thee, Lord my God, with every breath
Let's meditate together now for a few minutes. We will just have a few minutes, so let's all focus as intently as we can at the point between the eyebrows, calling on God to be with us right now in this very moment. Om, peace, amen. We're going to have a little bit of a different evening tonight in many ways, but first off, because we're going to have more music than we usually do. So we'll start with music, there will be some music in the middle, and there will be music at the end, because we're being responsible here and socially distanced. You may only see one person, but you will hear more than one voice, and you'll hear Tandava on the guitar. So enjoy, and somebody is going to put the words up for you. You're all muted, but we'd love for you to sing along to yourselves, unless somebody in your home's going to be terribly upset by that. Did the words get up, Lakshmi? Okay. Lakshmi says yes. You should have the words in your sidebar.
The first song that we are going to sing is Walk Like a Man. We'll begin in a second, once Lakshmi copies the words. Walk like a man, even though you walk alone. Why court approval once the road is known? Let come who will, but if they all turn home, the goal still awaits you. Go on alone. Follow your dreams, though it lead to worlds unknown. Life's but a shadow once our dreams have flown. What if men cry, your dream is not your own? Your soul knows the answer. Go on alone. Give life your heart. Bless everything that's grown. Fear not the loving. All this world's your own. Make rich the soil, but once the seed is sown, seek freedom, don't linger. Go on alone. Walk like a man, even though you walk alone. Why court approval once the road is known? Let come who will, but if they all turn home, your goal still awaits you. Go on alone. Go on alone. Go on alone.
Am I on? I'm on. Okay. Hello, great souls. Happy New Year, by the way. Sort of about 4 o'clock this afternoon, I started saying to myself, why did we decide to have this class on New Year's Day? But fortunately, I had a very willing and enthusiastic group here to come and be with me. So also one of the very nice things about these year-long courses that we do is that they're always up. There are, I think, close to 70 people taking this class, and yet we rarely see more than 16, 18. So people are watching at different times, but they'll appreciate it. We may or may not put this one up, we'll see. I wrote to all of you and I told you that after we decided, Sai Ganesh and Lakshmi and I kept talking about it, and it just kept coming up that we should go ahead and have the class. This was for the past month. But in the last maybe 2 weeks, as I kept looking at the topic, and I was saying to myself, cynicism. I don't think so. Not for New Year's Day. It was just not right. Even though you all know that whatever the emotion is, we have been able throughout all of this time to really find it, I mean, completely through Swamiji's inspiration and guidance, but pick it up and find not just the spiritual way up or out, but it's been so uplifting and enlivening in a way, no matter what that word or that feeling might be like in the world, or when you're feeling it sort of unbalanced with any spiritual, not just understanding, but goal, really. But knowing, of course, that I'm speaking with everyone who wants to be spiritually free has just made it a joy to do that. Still, I have to admit, I did not want to think about cynicism for today. So then I thought, how do we start the year? And I decided that energy, magnetism, and joy should be the topics tonight. And I'm really going to try hard not to speak the whole time. I'd like this to be a little bit more of a satsang, and there are only, again, about 16 of us here, so that could be fairly easy. But I want to tell you why I chose, I don't even know if I chose them, but I think why they came to me in that order. Energy is the most basic substrate on the spiritual path. It's the most basic, essential substrate, of course, in all of creation. But for those of us who are aware, who are not just thinking and feeling it, but choosing to grow, we all know from the very beginning, from Raja Yoga or from Meditation 1, that we have to begin to develop some knowledge of, and very importantly, awareness of energy, or we will not grow spiritually. Whatever else we want to talk about, whatever other feeling, wherever we are on our path, whatever our particular goal is, wherever our next step, each of us, we have to be aware of energy. We have to be conscious of it. We have to be using it. This is why we do the energization exercises, and I think most of you know them. At least, yeah, I think probably the majority of you know them, if not everyone. And if you don't know them, take a Raja Yoga course or a meditation class or Kriya Prep and get to know them. Because Yogananda brought these to us with great clarity and a very particular reason. They actually first came to him in India, but he brought them here and he taught us as a way of saying we are energy existing in a pool of energy, and we're mostly unconscious of that. And even once we get to think about it or learn about it, start really thinking that we understand energy, still, for spiritual purposes, the ability to grab a hold of that energy that's us and everything around us, and place it right where we want it, to be able to make conscious choices and really ever increasingly, ever new conscious choices. It takes working with it and being able to develop an awareness of it. It's not unlike taking voice lessons, to be able to place your voice, to be able to think a note and go there, or know even where the part that you're singing is supposed to be next, and hit it. It takes a lot of training, listening, learning to be able to do that. And energy is exactly like that. And because everything is energy, everything we think, everything we feel, every decision we make, every reaction that we have, totally involves a rearranging of energy. We would really love to know exactly how to do that. Many of you have heard me repeat this many times, and I do it because it's so essential. It's telling to me that in the chapter on energy in Raja Yoga, Swamiji makes this statement. He goes through this master saying that we've all heard: the greater the will, meaning we need to bring willpower first and willingness to the whole path. I could have just as easily, I could have called it will magnetism. I mean, there's so many basic terms like that. We could have started with any of them, but for me, energy feels like a real beginning. But the greater the will, the greater the flow of energy. The greater the flow of energy, the greater the magnetism. And we'll talk a little later about why magnetism is so important. But Swamiji says, memorize that. He says, say it several times a day. And then he puts this phrase in there, which I love. He says, emblazon it on your mind. He said, this single phrase can change your life. Well, hearing Swami Kriyananda say that, I don't think any of us have ever heard Swamiji say anything that wasn't with great meaning and intention. There was no fluff in his words. Everything Swamiji says is so meaningful, which is why when I was thinking about what songs would we listen to tonight, there are many circumstances under which we might have wanted to hear this song. Walk like a man, even though you walk alone. Why court approval once the road is known and you see the words in front of you? You all have them. But that song came to me today, or whenever it did, yesterday, and I was thinking, that takes a lot of energy. It certainly takes courage. It certainly takes commitment. It takes many things. But boy, we have to get our energy up and have it there to use, because quite frankly, courage and commitment are all made up of the same energy. So as we're starting this new year, we could all say to ourselves, how am I going to go about moving forward right now? You know, there is a reason why people make New Year's resolutions. There's also a lot of reasons why mostly they're not kept, but we'll save that for another time. I'm sure it'll fit in with some other emotion. But we make them because every year it does feel like a new beginning, new possibility, the next time where we can say, what are my goals going to be for this year? How do I want this year to unfold? And I don't know about you, but I actually spent some time today just jotting down ideas. Where would I like to see myself at the end of this year? Of course, Samadhi was number one, but you know, why not go for it? But what is my goal? And what all can I do right now today, January 1st, tomorrow, next week, to get myself where I want to go? And what reminders can I put in place? How are we going to remember to keep our energy vibrant and alive? You know, Swamiji uses an example in his, this same chapter on energy, but I have my own life example, so I'll share it with you. And some of you have heard this story, but it's a good story. When I was in medical training, you know, it's very hard to be in medical training. You all know that. It's a lot of hours. Well, I don't think it's the same way anymore, by the way. But honestly, no exaggeration, no hyperbole. I worked 120 hours a week for 50 weeks in my year of internship. And not just any 120 hours, but intense in the hospital, people really sick, a lot of ICU patients. You get the point, it was a hard year. When you're not working, you're pretty much sleeping, or you're exhausted and you're walking around in a fog. And my husband got to see that constantly. It was so intense that he bought us a condominium right near the hospital where I was training, because he never wanted me to get into a car after I'd been up for 36 or 48 hours and drive home. Anyway, so many stories are coming to mind. None of them are relevant, but this one is. So it was one of those nights after call. I was wiped out, probably just zoned out, and he was probably trying to talk to me, and I was half asleep, and the phone rang. And a very dear friend of mine, a man actually who had been a boss when I worked in Washington, D.C., but was also a friend, is on the other end of the phone, and he says to me, "Shanti, I thought I'd take a chance. I'm up in San Francisco. Is there any chance you can join me tonight?" And just like that, I said, "Absolutely. Where are you? I'll be there in an hour." And I remember Barry looking at me like, where did that come from? Well, that's a logical question in the world. But spiritually, we all know where it came from. We are living in and part of an infinite source of energy. Our job is simply to learn how to tap into it. And whether we do that by, again, reminding ourselves of things on the path or not. You may choose to run 3 miles a day and maybe take chance with you to remind yourself to keep your energy up. You may just keep your energy up by making a commitment to run 4 times a week and doing it every week. Or you may change some aspect of your meditation. You may devote part of your meditation to writing an affirmation on energy. Within me lies the energy to accomplish all that I will to do. Behind my every act is God's infinite power. You listen to those words. What if you decided to write them 10, 15, 30 times a day? You buy a beautiful notebook and you write it. You actually get a pen or a pencil and you write it, not on the computer. Well, you start, that's what those affirmations are about. You start realizing the truth. Within us does lie the energy to accomplish all that we will to do. Because God's infinite power is, it's not just behind us, it is us. So maybe you'll write affirmations. Maybe you'll find a chant that's energizing for you. But in some way, make a commitment to get in touch. How about just doing the energization exercises at least every day? If you're doing them already every day, maybe 3 times a week, you'll do them twice a day. Why is that? Again, where I started, because Master said, learn this, figure out how to tap into this infinite source of energy and put it right where you want it. Again, we all know where we want it. We want to bring it in and in and in until we're in the Sushumna, and all of that energy is freed and just rising up. We're on our way there. Every one of us can make enormous spiritual progress this year. If we pick up a few of these ways of reminding ourselves, we are energy. I'll end with this. I had a very dear friend who used to live in the community. He's up in Washington now. He was always right there. He still is. Dambara, for all of you who know him. He's always got that perfect little phrase. But one day he saw me looking a little less than my exuberant, energetic self. And I'll never forget, he looked at me and he said to me, "You're not going to tell me you're tired, are you?" Well, of course, I didn't dare after that. He looked at me and goes, "Shanti, your energy can't be tired." And it was really true. And it was energizing to hear that. So whatever it is you need to do, remember, energy can neither be created nor destroyed. It can always be transformed. It's the substrate that we're working with in our whole lives. So let me ask Sai Ganesh to put the camera on now so that I can see you. And let's hear if anybody has any comments or experiences or questions, anything about energy that you'd like to say. David?
You know, I've played with energy my whole life, like literally, like if it was water, I've used it to my advantage and to my disadvantage as well. But you're right, and it's for me, it doesn't feel like I'm transforming energy. It feels like I'm taking energy and placing it here or placing it there. I can take energy and sit down on the couch and watch TV. And it takes energy to make that decision and then just disperse that energy out everywhere. Or I can take that energy and create a little project and make a shelf.
Yeah.
You know, and for some reason in my world, I have people who come to me for advice sometimes. And often my advice to them when they're in a slump or something like that is to just do something, because, you know, as we know, energy has its own power. And you're right, when you do something, when I do something that's positive, just that energy flowing in that direction, it runs into different tributaries that allow that energy to start flowing. And then, you know, eventually, like you said, it creates magnetism, just like a dam would create energy. The energy starts flowing and just magnetizes the things that you're trying to do.
Yeah.
Or the things actually that you want to you. It's just something I've been watching and experiencing, and now recently, since I've been on this path, intentionally playing with energy. For example, really quick, not to take up too much of everybody's time, but we trade stocks and options. And we have a team, my wife, my best friend, and I, who helped each other grow and learn when schooling. And we felt that because we were able to help each other so much, we could help other people. And so we decided to start a club of traders called San Jose Traders Club. And the moment that thought came to my mind, I put energy into it intentionally, like I was playing with water, guiding it here, guiding it there. And we started a Traders Club in San Jose. We met people on Friday night, helped each other. It didn't last. It wasn't what was supposed to be, but I just thought it was a fascinating experiment. The experiment wasn't in making a club or trading in stocks. The experiment was, let's do something and create something from nothing. We had something there for a minute. It was fascinating to me, and it was literally strictly an experiment with energy.
You know, you're raising such an important spiritual point, and I'm glad that you brought it up, very glad, but that is, if you're standing still, if you create a kind of stagnant environment about anything, it's very hard to have energy moving, therefore to use it, as you say, to create any magnetism. Swamiji would even say, even if you don't know where you're going, take your first step. You don't have to dive fully into something, but take a step forward. Start creating a project. Do whatever it is you feel you can do to get energy moving. Of course, the more spiritually uplifting those projects are, the better. And I loved it when you were talking about, will I watch television or will I build something? Will I be creative? Will I allow energy? Will I guide the energy in that way? But moving at all is very important. So I'm very glad that you shared that. Thank you very much for saying all of that. Anybody else before we move on?
There's a question.
Question?
I'll ask the question. It's in two parts. How to change my energy to tap into higher thoughts? And the second part is, I'm not understanding how thoughts are universally generated. Can you explain?
Okay, the first part, there's a two-part question here. The first part is how to change my energy
to tap into higher thoughts.
Okay, I'm going to only answer the first part of this question, because to answer the second part of the question, which I will happily do if whoever is asking that question, write it to me. What does it mean that thoughts are universally, not individually rooted? It just would take up too much time right now. I'm already seeing that we're going to have to skip magnetism and go right to joy, but what the heck, right? Not a bad thing to go right to joy, but which is great. I mean, I love us talking together a little bit. There are so many ways to to transform our thoughts to be more spiritually oriented. That was not the words, but the thought, right? Yeah. Anything that we do that's either uplifting or expansive will transform our thoughts. It will get us thinking more and more, thinking in spiritual ways, not even thinking, but just moving in a spiritual direction. Actually, ultimately, what it will do is help us get rid of our thoughts. It's an important thing about magnetism that we really probably won't have time to talk about tonight, so I'll just put it in here. And that is where we spend our time, where we put our energy, the music we listen to, the people we spend time with, the food that we eat. We all know these things. These are absolute basics on the spiritual path, but all of a sudden when you start thinking, how can I change my thoughts? You can easily forget that this is the way. This is why we sometimes say everything on the spiritual path is so simple, but it's not easy all the time. And the other thing that we say, and you can test this out, you can listen to one Sunday service after another, you can take one class after another, and we all do, and it's a good thing to do. Rarely are you going to hear a completely new, something brand new, because those few principles that guide us on the path, they're just that. They're those few spiritual principles. They're always true. We find interesting ways to look at them and to talk about them and stories to tell around them. Because, why do we do that? We want to keep listening to those spiritually uplifting principles. We want our thoughts to be there. Way better to listen to another Sunday service and another and another. Even if you leave thinking, I knew that. I used to think that when I would listen to Swamiji For years, I used to think, I knew that. Why didn't I talk about it? Well, that was the difference between being a Swami Kriyananda and a Shanti. But very often, I was aware I wasn't hearing something brand new, but I was hearing it in a way that could allow me to grab onto it, to make it a little bit more my own, then a little bit again. So the way to get a hold of your thoughts is to begin by training them with as much uplifting input as we can. Now, we're human beings, so we just go over here, and before we know it, in a moment, we're being judgmental, we're being critical, we're being demanding, we're being jealous. I mean, we could talk about all those things. We've all been there. Even if you're not stuck there in this life, you know, by great good karma, we've all been there. So we know what that's like. That's not what's important. What's important is that we don't linger there, that we don't embellish it, that we don't find ourselves enjoying talking negatively about somebody or putting people down because we're jealous of them or we're feeling competitive with them. So it's not the first thoughts. Don't be too on yourself for that. But it's as soon as you can recognize it, take it somewhere else. Even if you need to start singing a chant or carry affirmations around with you, literally, I mean it, take it out of your pocket and start saying it. Whatever it is you need to do, or you more often than you are right now, you pick out a sentence or a phrase of something that Swamiji's written or something from a talk that you've enjoyed by anybody, and just listen to it. We actually really train our thoughts to be more positive, more uplifting, until we get to the point where when those first thoughts, where we hear ourselves just being critical, it's like yucky. I just don't even know a really better word for it. We can't stand to hear ourselves feeling that, thinking that, never mind putting words to it. So it is literally a training of the mind. I often used to say the spiritual path is easy. All you have to do is change your mind. And that really is a lot of what you need to do. You need to change your mind, and that's where the thoughts come in. There are many, many ways, because everything that's spiritually uplifting will affect the way you think. Just like, as I said, if you listen to music that's really living in your lower chakras, in a state of violence or blatant sexuality, or, I mean, you just go on all of the downside, the contractive part of the lower chakras, that's what you're going to be thinking about. I promise you, in one way or another. The more you can listen to Swamiji's music, or whatever is uplifting for you. If what's uplifting for you right now are a few beautiful classical pieces, listen to them. Whatever it is that's calming, uplifting, you feel free, you feel quiet, go there. And then keep expanding that, because what we want ultimately is not just to be relaxed or calm or quiet. We want to be really raising our thoughts, raising our energy, building magnetism till we're with our guru. That's really what we want. Let me stop here for a minute and ask our singers to sing the next song. Are the words up there for them, Sai Ganesh? This is called If You're Seeking Freedom. So pay attention to the words if you don't know them. And then we'll come back and we'll shift to speaking about joy. And you'll hear in the words of this song why it came to me.
If you're seeking freedom in a revolution, oh, if you're seeking freedom, you won't find it there. For once the guns stop blazing, you'll find it amazing how the world can drag on just as before. If you're seeking freedom in a marble mansion, oh, if you're seeking freedom, you won't find it there. For even when it's sunny, you'll be counting money, keeping up that showcase, that face lined with care. And if you're seeking freedom on a throne of power, oh, if you're seeking freedom, you won't find it there. For though men all obey you, what if they betray you? Tense you'll be in waiting for foes everywhere. But if you're seeking freedom, cast away desires. Why barter like a beggar your wealth everywhere? For never can you buy it, grasp and you deny it. Freedom can't be hoarded, it's free as the air. And if you're seeking freedom, seek it on the mountains. Got sunlight on your shoulders, the wind in your hair. For there's no one can hold you, boss about or mold you. Once your heart is free, you'll be king everywhere. For there's no one can hold you, boss about or mold you. Once your heart is free, you'll be king everywhere.
Thank you. Here it is, New Year's Day. I feel so touched that our 3 musicians, 4 actually, because Lakshmi's here too, all came in tonight to be willing to do this for us. That's very sweet. You know, I'm just going to speak for 2 minutes, or I'm going to try to speak for only 2 minutes, because I love that you're all, or several of you anyway, are willing to talk and participate. I think this is a first for this group. You know how the end of every night I say, are there questions? There's no questions. Okay. Questions and comments tonight are good. It's very interesting. Today I listened to a 20-minute talk that Swami Kriyananda gave on the topic of joy. And basically, he was saying, he didn't say this, but let me say this right now. Joy is the goal. Joy is the goal of the whole spiritual path, which is why I thought to speak about it tonight. Where was I just speaking? Oh, at a Sunday service last week or a couple weeks ago. Yeah, it was just last week, I think, where I had read something that Swamiji had said, where he said, for spiritually refined people, when they're feeling bliss or uplifted, they feel it as joy. If you're more emotional, you feel it as happiness. If you're really very still on the physical plane, you feel it as pleasure. And then if you haven't even consciously stepped foot on a spiritual path, you might feel that same thing as the relief of pain. I thought it was very clever how he put that. But joy is the goal. It's where we're all going. And I had already decided on this song, and I didn't think of it till just now. But what this song says, I forget, it's very hard to pull up words from the middle of a song, but once your heart is free, you're as free as the air, I think is a line in there, if I'm not mistaken. Something like that. But the truth is that it's exactly what Swamiji was saying today. he was saying the concept of joy is pretty simple. It's about being free. It's about that realization that comes that there's nothing out there that's going to bring us that joy, that it's all in here. And when we're free from our desire of needing anything to be any particular way. So he said it can be a rainy day or it can be a sunny day. And you can fill in a lot of blanks. I'm not going to do that because I've probably already gone over 2 minutes. But somebody can be nice to you, they can be mean to you, they can love you in return or not. I mean, the simple story in AY. Master could walk out on Sri Yukteswar and go up into the Himalayas looking for samadhi, leaving his duties. And when he came back, Sri Yukteswar is just calm as can be. And Master said to him, aren't you angry with me? He said, I never had any expectation of you. How could I be angry? As soon as the closer we move towards not needing things to be a certain way, not needing people to be a certain way, not having any expectations, that's hard, but it's still the goal. And it's still absolutely possible and doable, definitely. And I experiment with that a lot. I really do. Somebody will start saying something to me, I can feel it's going to be one of many things, critical, disappointing, and I can catch myself sometimes a few seconds into it saying, don't get upset about this, just where they are, it's all okay. You are fine. You're exactly where you were before this sentence, incident, anything started. You're okay. And it's always true. Not even that we're okay, maybe they're saying something to us that's true. Maybe it's critical and true. So what? Then we just take it and say, wow, now I can change that. The only way to joy, the only way, is to give up needing anything from anyone. No exception. Not from our children, not from our spouses, not from our parents. We have to need nothing from anyone. Then we will know joy. And that is the goal of the spiritual path. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as what Swamiji said to us for years and years. Isn't it just strange to think that we live all of these incarnations? How many incarnations? And our goal is to get back to zero. We have all these crazy, great experiences, these horrible experiences, life after life after life. We soar, we crash, we soar, we crash. We just want to come back to zero. And it's right there. Zero, neutrality, sushumna, joy. That's our goal. It's actually like everything else on the spiritual path. It's simple, but it's not easy. So let me stop there. We can take just a couple of minutes for comments or questions, and I would love to. And we have one closing song. So Eloisa, did you have a...
Yeah, I just wanted to say I really enjoyed it. I've been watching your talks again, and it's just every time you just go deeper and deeper. And something you said in the last talk reminded me of what you're talking about today. You know, you read that Swami said, whatever is yours will come to you. If it's yours, if it's come to you, it's yours. And if it's not yours, even if you get it, it will go away because it's not yours. And so I've been finding a lot of joy in that. A lot of joy in saying, you know, if it shows up, then it's all about what attitude am I going to greet it with. Yeah. It comes back to the choice I have is not, is it coming or is it not coming? It's what attitude will I have. And you also mentioned this in the last talk. You said, it's like every second is a new incarnation, almost, something to that effect. It's like, in the moment, let it go. You know, it's like, the second, every second to the yogi is a new incarnation. So you didn't meditate, you ate too much sugar, whatever it was, that was like a second ago. Like in this second, we're going to move forward.
Yeah.
And there may be consequences, but in this second, it's a new incarnation, and it's going to start with joy. And so I found a lot of peace and joy in all of your talks.
Great. Thank you so much for saying both of those things that you said, Eloisa. They're so important because we spend, and I mean, I'm thrilled you said it because it was in my notes to say, but whoever asked the question, this is thoughts being universally rooted. But we spend so much time in life waiting for things to be the way we want them to be, or reacting when they're not, instead of just being there ready to receive what it is, knowing that that's ours. That was exactly meant for us. And the other point that you made, I don't remember saying this, I assume the talk that you're talking about was 2 weeks ago. I don't remember saying it, but I could have, and it's truth. Anyway, is that every single moment is the next opportunity. That's why there is no point in looking back, ever. And Master says that. And you know, the closer I get to leaving my body, whenever that is, that could be 30 years or it could be 3 minutes, who knows. But I keep saying to myself, remember at the last minute, don't have any regrets. No matter what you do, Master says it's really bad. And you can see why. It binds you to something on this material plane. It keeps you there. It keeps you there either physically or mentally or emotionally. We don't want that. We want to be free to fly, to soar, for our souls to take off. So those are very important points that you made, so thank you very much. Yeah. I think because I want us to close with this last song, it's a good way to close, so at the end of the song, we'll just let go. I want to mention to you, and I'll mention it again and again, sometime in either January or February, I'm sorry I don't remember, but you'll see it come up. I'm going to be here for a few hours on a Saturday morning doing a question and answer period. They're a lot of fun. They're always very well received. It's great, it's spontaneous. If you have more questions or comments, write them down as we go. And then you can either speak them out loud or you send it to who's ever monitoring right in the temple here with me, and they pass those questions on. It's in 2 weeks, Ganesh is telling me. So on a Saturday morning, look at the calendar. But whatever questions you have, you can send them in ahead. I'm sure it'll all be explained there. But a couple people are always here with me. So it's really fun. And everybody's questions, they're relevant for all of us. So I'm part of saying that because I'm aware that this hour went flying by. But let's finish now with the words of Swamiji's songs, Peace. And I've often thought, if we could go deep enough with this song, how many times do we need to sing it, listen to it, before we have that experience of not simply peace, but joy? God bless you all.
Peace gave us the mountains, peace gave us the sky. Nightly, when starlight enfolds us, peace is its lullaby. Amen. 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 Peace gave us the morning. Peace gave us the sun. Bird songs that call us to welcome day and fresh labors begun. Amen. Amen. Peace gave us the seasons. Peace gave us the rain. Cool clouds that gather to bless us. Mist hands that soothe away pain. Amen. Amen. Peace gave us our heart's love. Peace gave us our smiles. Rays of God's presence within us. Light that all strife reconciles. Amen. Amen. Sing it with us. Amen.